Good morning. I'm Sandra, as she mentioned. Hopefully, by the end of the time together, you will be encouraged to embrace your transitions, to get out of your comfort zone, and know that God will help you to be resilient. For I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, fear not, I will help you. Isaiah 41:13. Self-care is something that will help all of us in these areas. These are some things I did with my students for the last few years. Mindfulness, oh, great, it works. Mindfulness, awareness through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So I would have something called Mindful Mondays with my students, and I would have them focus on a positive thought. So in a minute, we're going to practice this mindfulness thing. Perfect. Okay, so you want to choose a positive thought. One of these or your own is all good. Things are okay. I'm okay. Breathe. For me, slow down. God is in control, or whatever your thought is. Okay, so sit comfortably. Actually sit up. Hands on your lap or hands on the table, whatever works for you. And you're gonna close your eyes and you're gonna breathe in slowly through your nose. Breathe in. Breathe out of your mouth and think of your positive thought. Things are okay. I'm okay. God is in control. Slow down. Whatever it is for you. And then breathe slowly in through your nose, and you don't have to be on my timing. Up. Slow down. Breathe. God is in control. It's all good. Breathe in. One more time. In. Okay, so hopefully you feel relaxed and focused. Okay, next, so another thing with my students. Number 2, laughter. So lately, I have been watching the Flintstones. My kittens are hilarious. Simon's cat is hilarious. Calling a friend, Noah, while I'm in chemo or when I'm down, he is absolutely hilarious. I love Calvin and Hobbes. I know old school because you are my people. Okay, so laughter is always good. Number 3, choosing daily joy and laughter in the journey. Number 4, self-care. Whatever it is for you, but these are some of mine. Just a nice bath at night. Oh, so nice and relaxing. I love all kinds of dancing, especially 70s and 80s. And swing dance I do on Thursday nights. Anyone interested in checking it out, you can come and talk to me afterwards. It's really fun just to do a different kind of dance and partner dance. So anyone interested, come and talk to me. It'll be a great night, date night for some of you guys who are married. Okay. Snuggling with my kittens. Enjoying being in the sun, calling a friend. I literally am one of those I stop and smell the roses people. Smell the roses, or plumerias, whatever it is. Going to the beach. Number 5, I've always had the attitude that I want to learn from everything that I've been through, and that hopefully others can learn too. During one sermon, the pastor challenged us to ask people for positive adjectives or descriptors of us. It would have been awkward for me to ask people in person, hi, can you tell me some good things about me? So I put it on Facebook, and I got an overwhelming response. I made a list of those terms to cheer me up when I'm feeling down. I hope you might consider doing that for yourself. At the beginning of the year, many people make resolutions or goals. We can always choose who and what we want to be and do according to God's will. Now that I'm retired, it's been especially challenging in the winter to get myself out of bed, especially when I'm snuggling with my sweet kittens. On Martin Luther King Day, I decided I really need to get back into having quiet time with God before I get out of bed. Then I do a 7-minute workout as soon as I get out of bed, and a cool down to stretch to old school praise music like Keith Green, Amy Grant, the Hawaiian. I know, you're like, really, that's old school. So this training will help me to get back to climbing on fabric, hopefully by the end of the year. So some of you know I do that stuff. Okay, so before I tell you about some of my transitions, I want to tell you about me so you understand why my transitions were difficult for me. I am the oldest of 4 girls, and on Saturday nights we would go to my grandparents' house and have dinner, Chinese dinner, with aunts, uncles, cousins, and that was great. But there was this one uncle who was like, oh, where's your pretty sister? Where's your skinny sister? It's like, oh, that makes me the fat, ugly sister. I know, it's like, really? So, I mean, most of my life I've dealt with feeling like the fat, ugly sister. So, of course, that affected my self-esteem, that made me really shy, quiet, all those kind of things, right? So, I was teaching my students the 7 habits of highly effective teens, and in one place they talk about negative self-talk and then how do you change that. So, I decided, okay, I can be the healthy, athletic sister because I will never be the skinny sister because I like to eat. So I'm okay with that, and it's like, okay, that's my new positive spin on it. So that was good for a while, and actually for a long while it was good. But somehow the negative self-talk crept back into my life, and it's possibly because the cancer returned, and I wasn't athletic and I wasn't healthy. Working on being that more, but it's just like, eh. So anyway, thankfully I have a therapist who has helped me with that. I'm like, okay, getting better, yay! Okay, so when I was in high school, I was shy and I didn't want to try anything unless 10 other people were doing it. So, but in high school, it's like, okay, you have to join a service club so that it looks good on your college apps. So I tried clubs and different activities, and I became an officer because it looked good on the college app. I learned, but from the service club, I actually learned that I liked helping people. It's like, oh, and so that actually started my journey to becoming a teacher. I had no idea back then that that's what it was, but I did that. Okay, thanks. So when it came to going to college, I got into UCLA, and everyone's like, you better go to UCLA because you better go. I'm like, fine. But I didn't want to go. I got into Cal State LA, and that would have been perfectly a good education, but it would not have gotten me out of my comfort zone. I could have just stayed home. It would have been comfortable. I got to UCLA, and it was so overwhelming. I'm like, what did I get myself into? I must be insane. But because I went to UCLA, I learned to have friends, all kinds of different friends of different ethnicities, sexual orientations. I met all kinds of people in marching band, the Christian fraternity. So it was really good for me to get out of my comfort zone. One of my marching band friends, Julie, told me about interviewing for Up With People because they travel, they do shows. I'm like, I want to travel, I want to do shows. So I traveled with 120 people from 18 countries, spreading a message of peace through performing in 10 countries and staying with host families for a year. So that was like huge transition, so out of my comfort zone because I didn't know anybody. Even though Julie and I traveled the same year, we were in staging for 5 weeks together, but then she went in a different group, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? So, because I was in this group, I learned how to do, I actually learned I could do a lot more than I ever thought I could do. I learned to ask people to donate food and their homes to total strangers when I was in Canada and Norway, and I don't speak Norwegian. So it's like, okay, so thankfully one of the Danish guys could communicate with them, but it's like, anyway. And I also loved developed my love of travel. The next adventure was working at the Pacific Islands Club in Saipan. And, you know, being an American, it's like, where's Saipan? Geography? No. So anyway, didn't know anybody there either, but it's like, okay, let's try this adventure. So I got to be an entertainer 3 or 4 nights a week. We did sports things with the guests, so that was a really fun adventure too. Again, totally out of my comfort zone. And then I needed to come back home because Up With People was having a reunion. We have reunions every 5 years, which is very cool. Go ahead. Next, I came home and I'm like, okay, I need to find a church. So I really liked Evergreen because it's multicultural, multi-generational, pastors are down to earth, and the sermons are applicable. So I really like being here and being part of church. And then it's like, okay, God, now I guess I should grow up and have a career. So God called me to be a teacher, and I'm like, seriously? Boring, ordinary. It was anything but boring. But I was just like, seriously, God? And then, you know, it's like, how long am I going to be doing this? And it ended up being 29 years. Next one. So a few students actually visited me to tell me of my impact on them, which was really great because I never expected to ever hear anything from any kid, ever. And then toward the end of, toward the end of my career, some things students would actually tell me in writing when we did an exercise or whatever. It's like, wow, I totally never expected to hear anything positive from a kid. And so actually this young man, he was my student one of my first years. I totally remembered him when he came back, but he actually failed my class. But he was in the military, and he told me that because I taught him how to write, he could help the people under him how to write. I'm like, yes! So that was pretty awesome, like, wow. So he actually was a guest speaker for my kids a couple of times, which was pretty cool. So since I had 10 weeks in the summer, I decided I should do summer missions. I wanted to have purpose in my summers, having eternal consequences. So with church, I went to Haiti and Japan. Then I went with another group to Eastern Europe, and then as you can see, Madagascar, with Eden Reforestation. And actually, we just talked to Steve, the founder of Eden, yesterday, and it's just like such an amazing experience. And yes, I'm feeding a lemur with a banana. Yeah, crazy. Someone else did it. It's like, well, what a great idea. Hello, it's a wild animal. You could be mangled, but you know, none of us thought of that at the time. It's like, thankfully, none of us were mangled. So you know, if you've never gone on summer missions or any kind of missions, you know, we think that we're going there to help other people, which we are, but we learn so much more. And God, we're just so blessed. And God's like, okay, you have plans. That's a great idea, but sometimes you have to change your plans, and that's okay. It's just like, okay, God, what do you want us to do? And being the planner, it's really challenging for me, but it was really good. I was married, and of course that's a big transition. And then I got divorced, and that was also a big transition. But I had a good support group that helped me through these challenging times. So when I turned 40, I decided, well, let's try different new things. And I had to decide, am I going to still try something even if nobody else wants to do it? So there was this musical called Swing, where the guys are like doing these amazing tricks with the gals, throwing them in the air. It's like, I want to learn how to do that. So I tried to find it online, but I couldn't find it, but what came up was flying trapeze. And so I thought, well, that would be kind of cool and different to do flying trapeze. So asked everybody, no, I don't want to go. Like, seriously? So I'm like, okay, so am I just going to do it or not? So I said, okay, I'm just going to do it. So this is in Hollywood, and bless you, I signed up for 4 classes. And the first class, it's like, okay, you just learn how to swing. You're hanging on the bar, you're learning how to swing. But the way that you're supposed to do it is counterintuitive. So he's telling you go forward, back. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. Let me do it my way. And then of course, my way didn't work. And it's like, when I finally stopped and listened to him, it's like, oh, he's right. Of course he is. So, okay, swinging, that's fine. So the next thing is you have to get your knees on the bar. I'm 40 years old. Everyone else is like 20, and I'm like, oh my gosh. They're probably thinking, why is this old lady trying to do this? But getting the knee on the bar when it's static, okay. Then try to get your knee on the bar when it's moving. It's like, okay, challenging, but I got it, great. The last part is you have to jump off the platform at the right time. So, we're all, we get there, they put the harness on, the ropes, you have a crash mat, it's all good. But the platform is like 10 feet high. It's like you're climbing up to the first story and standing on the top. And then, so it doesn't sound like it's that big a deal, right? But then your head is actually 15 feet above ground, and you're looking down, and you're like, am I insane? Yes, I am. But it's like, okay, it's okay, we do it. So the last part of getting caught, it's like, okay, I just couldn't do it. I kept doing everything else, I couldn't do it. So the last class, my fourth class, I'm like, okay, if I don't get caught today, I've given it the college try, and then that's it. So finally, it's like, okay, jump. And it's like, okay, you go back and forth. And I finally got caught. I'm like, yay, I did it. Obviously, I was so excited. And it's like, how can I not come back to class? I need to keep doing this because it's so exciting and so fun. So after I finally got caught, and I'm telling people about it, oh, okay. So actually, back in the day when we had women's ministry, like 8 or 10 gals came. We did a class, and they had fun. And then one of my girlfriends, we've known each other since we were 5 in dance class, and she's like, I want to overcome my fear of heights. I'm going to go to class with you. I'm like, yay! So Annie and I would do this, and she's actually a professional dancer and choreographer, so she has these beautiful splits. She had, all this flexibility. I'm like, okay, I'm just the average person. But that's okay, because we did it together, and we had fun. So, yeah, so we did that, and then we're literally in a circus school, where people are juggling and doing trampoline and teeter-board and all these cool things and climbing on the fabric, the tissue. And so she's like, let's go do that. I'm like, I don't have the strength. Are you insane? And so she's like, well, and so my excuse was, I can only take one circus class during the week because I teach. So then she's like, well, in the summer, you have time. I'm like, darn it. I was hoping she wouldn't figure that out. So I was like, fine. So, they hang the fabric, and the ceiling is like 30 feet up. So you're supposed to climb 30 feet up. It's like, I know. It's like, exactly. I'm like, no. Or so I'm thinking, no, there's no way that I can do this. But they show you how to do it. You wrap it around your foot, and you use your hands and your core and everything. Not that it was easy, but I actually was able to climb up and down 4 times on the first day. I know, seriously. I thought there was no possible way, but I did. It's like, yeah! So anyway, I started doing those 2 classes, and then it's like, then one of my friends was doing a swing dance class, and her partner noticed that she could dance and do stuff, so he invited her to the aerials class that I was looking for. So she went to the class, oh, Sandra, I have the class. That's what I'm looking for. So then I started doing aerials and doing all this cool, all these cool things. And then the teacher's like, well, you have to dance in and out of these, right? I'm like, no, because actually the aerials is like advanced swing dance thing that you're supposed to dance and then get into it. So it's like, no. He's like, well, you need to learn how to dance. Fine. So I'm doing swing, I'm doing aerials, I'm doing tissue, and I'm doing trapeze. I know. Back when I was young and had energy when I was 40. So that literally, all of that happened when I turned 40. So, so I love dancing, all kinds of dancing, but swing dancing was very different and fun for me because I had to let go of control. Because it's all about the guy leading the gal. And we're very capable. It's like, well, I know what it's like, close your eyes and let him lead you. And it's been really fun. And so now I'm back to taking classes, swing dance classes, and my challenge for myself every week is to ask somebody who's better than me to dance, because that's the only way I'm going to get better. And like this last week, this one teacher, and to ask a teacher is intimidating. But it's like, well, he's not my teacher, so it's not as intimidating. Anyway, I asked this one teacher, and he's like throwing stuff at me, and I'm like, yay, I can mostly catch it. follow it. So that was very cool. So anyway, just always pushing myself to be better. So then, the saddest day of my life was when my dad passed. I was just like horrible, and I miss him and think of him daily. But that transitioned me to becoming Mom's main caregiver. So I needed to focus on what she needed and organize my sisters to help her, so I wasn't doing everything. For a long time, I was doing everything. It's like, you have 3 sisters, they need to help you. So that was good that I needed to do that and did that. Still doing a brunt of the things, but it's okay. Many times you're cruising along in life, and then suddenly you get slammed, the breath knocked out of you, and you wonder what you're going to do next. Friday, March 13, 2020 is a day that many of us will never forget. That was the day COVID shut down the country and public education as we knew it. Parents, students, and their children, parents, children, and their teachers were sent home to stay. We were teaching and learning remotely. The world was forever changed because of COVID. At first, the administrators told teachers that the students would not be back for 2 weeks and that we would figure it out on Monday. Yeah, if only that were true. That following Monday, we were told to create lesson plans for 2 weeks that we would deliver digitally and that we would be back after that. Thank God we had given each student a Chromebook at the beginning of that school year, because that made the transition to distance learning easier. I am not good at big changes, and that was the biggest of my life. Thankfully, I was used to doing some things digitally, but to do everything online was overwhelming. If I could have retired that year, I would have, but that would not have been the best for me financially in the long run. I was grateful for our technology teacher who helped me with all my questions and needs. I couldn't teach the same way because I could see my students in their kitchen or living room trying to do school, being interrupted by all the noise and distractions of the rest of the house. It was difficult to teach and learn for everyone. I could have given them handouts and easy work, but I knew they would not have learned if I did that. So I still pushed them and had them read a couple of novels and write a couple of essays so they would be prepared for the next English class. My biggest success was Benjamin, who failed both semesters of my freshman English class. But he was determined to get an A in Ms. Jung's class his sophomore year. He didn't tell me this was his goal until a week before the semester ended. He had a B+ going into the final, and as I read his final, I determined he had done enough to pull off that A-. I know. I was so proud that I pushed him to be better and that he had done such an outstanding job. Just as I got comfortable with distance learning and teaching, another big change happened in my life: cancer. I was diagnosed in June 2021. I was totally devastated and wondered, why me, God? Why did it have to be an aggressive uterine cancer? Wasn't I dealing with enough, caring for my cute little mom, and trying to be God's light to my students and my circle of influence? I felt it was such a waste of time, and so inefficient of God. But obviously, he has the big picture, and cancer was one way that God slowed me way down. So those of you who know me, it's like Fast and Furious all the time, right? After the initial shock, I had to quickly switch gears and get my house in shape for company, since I asked a good friend from college to help me for a couple days after surgery. I was so overwhelmed by the kindness and generosity of many family and friends. It warms my heart. Jenny offered to help me clean, which of course I thought I should be able to clean my own house, but my time management was out of whack, so thankfully she helped me to clean enough before Brian arrived. Then came the nightmare of undergoing a hysterectomy, chemo, and radiation. Thankfully, I wasn't nauseated and food didn't taste like metal. In 6 months, I tried to get everything done as quickly as possible because I had to get back to teaching, a career that God had called me to. I love sharing true life adventure stories and wanted my students to explore all that life has to offer. After all the treatments, I went to what I thought was going to be a routine checkup, concluding with a clean bill of health. To my horror, my oncologist revealed that my cancer was back with a vengeance. My cancer marker number was 900, and it should have been 35. My surgeon had success with a relatively new immunotherapy, but of course I was concerned about side effects. For a day, I was suicidal. But thankfully, I had a couple of friends who just listened and let me talk things through. I was able to finish my last semester of 29 years of teaching, but I really didn't want to stop teaching because I love sharing life with my students. However, my body said I couldn't exist with such exhaustion and stress for 10 months out of the year. That was not the quality of life that I wanted. So very reluctantly, I gave up something that I loved. There are times that I'm mad or sad about how life sucks. And I learned that it's okay to feel that way for a little while, but not to stay there for months and years like I used to. I remember all the great blessings God has bestowed on me, such as a great support system and his love and peace. About 10 years ago, God brought me an amazing Christian mentor, Christina. I wanted a mentor all of my life, and at age 50, I thought I should be the mentor, not the mentee. I knew that I had much to learn, and thankfully, Christina took me under her wing for an hour a week, for a year, for free. She was so generous to pour her life into me. At the end of our first phone conversation, she noticed that I hadn't mentioned anything about dating. I replied that I didn't have a chance to talk about it yet. She responded I wasn't ready to date because I had anger to deal with, and that we only attract people who are as healthy or unhealthy as we are. She helped me to realize that I had lots of unresolved anger and that I needed to fix it before I could move on with my life. Since I'm a fast and furious kind of gal, everything needed to be done 5 weeks ago. She explained that I was like a racehorse that had to be slowed down and trained so I could eventually maximize my speed. After working with her for a year, she marveled at God's amazing transformations. Now I'm able to work through anger in days or weeks instead of years. She could hear how God used me to bless and challenge my students. A verse that often speaks to me is, "For you created my innermost being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Psalm 119, 13 and 14. People tell me that I'm a warrior and resilient, but quitting never seemed like an option for me. All I could do was push forward and look for the good things in life. Since my passion is teaching, I considered what the most important things were to teach kids. I concluded that one thing missing from my education was practical life skills. Sadly, it's not in anybody's job description, but incorporating life skills such as goal setting, money management, gratitude, and exploring the world into my curriculum, I did that because I think that they're important. My newest enterprise is teaching Practical Life Skills 101 to teens, young adults, and people who are striving to become their best selves so that they can be better prepared for the real world. A new business is already challenging enough, but since I also have my own YouTube channel, I realized that I need to kick it up a notch and wear makeup to look more professional and polished and like a grown-up. So my sister got me makeup for Christmas, and I curl my hair and do my makeup more often. Don't expect this look most of the time. I'm able to press forward because I feel like I have a purpose, and we all need to find and know our purpose when we are going through trials in life. When I'm feeling a little down, I take a joy break. That can mean snuggling with my kittens, going to the beach in my mind or in person because that's my happy place, or enjoying a little piece of chocolate. Sometimes I need to reach out to family or friends to hear a comforting voice. At other times, I might need to watch a comedy to lift my spirits. God patiently taught me to slow down and take care of myself. I thought I had been taking care of myself, but apparently not enough. Uncle Marshall reminded me that every day is a gift from God and that I can't assume anything about tomorrow. I really learned so much from praying through cancer, and this is the third time I'm reading through the devotional. One lesson that stands out to me is that instead of asking why me, God wants me to ask, how can I bless others? When I reread it, I realized that God wants me to ask how he will miraculously do things that are impossible for me. He wants us to get out of our comfort zone so he can show us that he's doing things for us and through us. That doesn't mean that he will always answer the way we want him to, but we have to trust that he loves us and wants what's best for us. So how does God want me to finish the last third of my life? I'm deciding what's the most important things in life at this moment. Number 1, time with mom. 2, ministering to other residents and staff, doing little things like bringing apples and chocolate chip pumpkin bread, making suggestions like making holiday cards. And number 3, time with people and my kittens. In the past, during the holiday season and my birthday, I'm very introspective and I'm always wondering if I've done enough. I want to have mattered with the time that God has given me, and sometimes it's depressing. Thankfully, I have good friends. We all need a good friend or two whom we are transparent with, and they lovingly point things out. I'm also, thankfully, I have a good therapist who has helped me to get back on track and helped me to deal with anger again. In the last year, I have watched the three seasons of The Chosen 3 times and get different things out of them each time because I'm different. The episode where he sends them out 2 by 2, James asked Jesus why he hasn't healed him. Jesus explained that he could heal him and that he would have a great story and testimony, and many people have that story. But James' extraordinary story is that he hasn't been healed, and he still believes and praises God in spite of his physical challenges, because he focuses on all that matters, which is more than just the body. He could be patient with his suffering here on earth because he knows that he will spend an eternity without suffering. There's also the episode where the woman has been bleeding for 12 years, and she is just so desperate. It's like, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. And I wonder, what am I desperate for God to do? What is my faith in God, and how will I resolve to do his will? From Job, we learn that the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, blessed be the Lord. Our suffering will be nothing compared to our reward in heaven, which will be great. I'm getting better at not asking about why about a situation, but how is God going to work through this thing or provide in this situation? He hasn't answered all my questions yet, and I'm continuing to trust him with the big picture. And sometimes it's hard to hope for some things. God never promised an easy life, but promised to be with us through the challenges, and he's given us each other as support for this journey. God patiently reminds me that I'm not in control, that it's okay to not be perfect, and that I can't do everything. One last thing that I used to do with my students on Fridays, it's, huzzah, thank God it's Friday. So I would have them write 3 things that they were thankful for, and they would just say, I'm thankful for my friends, I'm thankful for my family. Be specific. I'm thankful for my friends, I'm thankful for my family. Okay, fine. So what I decided I would do is I would make a slideshow every week and show them, these are the 3 things that I'm thankful for. So I'm thankful that I had Christmas with my mom and sisters, that I have my snuggly little kittens, and that my neighbor's kids started coming to church and they even performed. I'm like, yay, I know, it's just like, yay, so exciting. So, what you're gonna do right now, everyone get one of the cards that's on the table. I know, because we had to have some kind of audience participation thing. Okay, so what you're gonna do is grab a writing instrument and grab a card, and I want you just to write 3 things that you're thankful for. And be specific. I'm thankful for my friends, I'm thankful for my friends. No. So take a minute to write 3 things you're thankful for. Boy, you guys are such good students and staying on task. What you're going to do is get the other card and number it 1 through 10. And yes, you have to talk to each other. Ah! So what you're going to do is, you're going to go find 10 people, and you're going to write their names, so at least you remember, hopefully, people's names. Or can think about it. I know, teacher mode. And then ask them about one of their blessings, and just write one of their blessings. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to go ahead and do that. So somewhere at the bottom of your 10 items, or the thing that your blessings, I just want you to think about one challenge or something that you want to do that you will get out of your comfort zone. Something you want to do to get out of your comfort zone this year. This year. What? I know. How dare she? Let me end with these 2 verses. Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you. Joshua 1:9. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Thank you.